we're at a dance class on the weekend, so I know that you've learnt the moves and how to come in here. That's it. That wasn't quite the move that I had, that I received. But hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Look, the dance moves that my daughter Freya was learning are very different from what I was just doing back then. Doing ballet and tap. I mean, I've got the moves, but I'm probably not doing those on camera.
She'll be the judge, right? She'll be the judge. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Social Butterfly, where we go live each week, unpacking everything to do with business, growing business, expanding systems, everything to do with inside it, sales, coaching, marketing, socials, everything that we can do to help grow business. We do that. We talk about it each week. Today, and as usual, I'm joined by Michael Clift, my business coach, who helps you achieve more by doing less, by mastering chaos in your business. And as Michael has said, he's fantastic. I'm Katrina from Butterfly Media, and we take socials to sales, and we do that with a lot of professional service businesses. We're crushing it a little bit there right now, just a short plug, but welcome everyone. Today, I'd like to ask you a question. What does $83,333.33 mean to you? What does it mean to you, Michael?
Oh, great question. That is the figure that you need to get monthly to have a business that is turning $1 million. Hang on, sorry, give me 2 seconds. All right, I'm good. Sorry, it started playing in the background and all I could hear was us talking.
Yeah, that's always nice too, isn't it? So start again. So what does $83,000 mean to you, Michael?
So what it means to me is that is the figure that you need to hit if you want to have a $1 million business. And what I mean by $1 million business is in annual revenue, because what will happen is people talk about $1 million businesses and they'll go, hey, I've got $1 million business. And what they mean is over the last 5 years, they've done $200,000 in annual revenue. Now they've hit $1 million. I'm not talking about that.
Well, I'm glad that
we're doing it in a year.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad that that's a number that resonates with you that way, because funnily enough, that's our topic for today. All right. So our topic today is talking about $1 million businesses. A little while ago, we got on and discussed what it looks like to take, a low 6-figure business to 7 figures, 250K around there, what it might look like for them to get to the $1 million revenue. It was pretty popular, so we thought we'd dive in today and just sort of crack that conversation open a little bit more. Over the couple of years that we've been doing business, there's all sorts of conversations around what $1 million looks like, why you should get it, do you want it? We spoke about it last time around, do you actually need it? Like sometimes a beautiful life doesn't necessarily mean $1 million business. You could, quite easily have a gorgeous existence on less. You don't need it. So we're talking about that. Now we thought we might crack it open a little bit more around what it might look like, because sometimes we think it looks like more work. Sometimes we think that we can't achieve it, or we've got to make more things or do more things or stuff to actually get there. Michael, you seem to have a few ideas around it, so I'm always excited to talk to you around these topics. So $1 million business, Michael, let's dive in a little bit further into how we should get there, maybe, or if we should.
All right, let's frame up a few things. Firstly, why can I even talk about it? So let's forget about the fact that I've had everything from 0 to $52 million businesses that I've worked on, both in small business and in the corporate world. So I've had the experience across the spectrum, both in my businesses and not my businesses. We've also helped 8 clients go from low 100,000 to over $1 million. And then we've worked with business, and I am working with businesses that are doing over $1 million, continue to go further. So for context, I'm working on this day in, day out. So I have a good idea what I'm talking about. Secondly, the why do you want to have $1 million? I don't think it gets talked about enough is why would you want to have $1 million business? Why do you want a business that actually generates $1 million a year? And that conversation is something that if you go, I want $1 million business and you don't have a reason, you are going to have a world of pain. So you really want to know what does that get me? Does it mean that I can put my kids through school? I can take the weekends off. I can go and help out this local charity that I've really wanted to help forever and I haven't had the means to do it. Like, why are we doing that? Because if you don't have that, as much as we go, well, there's easier ways than to do it than some of the harder ways to do it, it's still going to be hard. And there's always going to be hard times in business. So you need that why to get you there, because otherwise you will get there and then it just feels like nothing because you go, yay, we hit this figure, and then you have nothing. Like, so what? It doesn't matter anymore, and it feels a little bit empty.
It's funny you say that. I was literally just talking to someone the other day about where they've gone in their business. They've done very well, and now they've got a foundation and they're trying to raise money for that. And they were talking about impact and talking about the fact that once you get your business to a certain stage where it's self-sufficient, everything on and above that has nothing to do with money. Generally speaking, it's all to do with the impact because you've got the space for it. So yeah,
Money is just a resource.
it's a motivator, isn't it?
Yeah, like money just gets us the ability to go, I want to buy time, right?
Yeah.
And like that is the better resource because it's limited, whereas money is not. Like at the end of the day, if everything fell over, you could find a different way to make money tomorrow. Like that's the thing, because money is just how we exchange things. Back in the day, we didn't even use money; we just bartered and we traded things. So that is something that you probably want to understand: is that money is just a resource. It's not be all. It's not end all. And if we're making money, why are we making the money? And what are we applying it to? And from an impact point of view, money gives you the ability to impact. So like when I look at why am I building, why am I talking 25 years from now? I had a conversation with someone about 25 years from now where I plan on being 25 years from now. Most people, that's not even on the radar, right?
Trying to think how old
And
I
and like
was.
none of like it's all about having the money available so that I have the time available, so I've got freedom to spend time with whoever I want, whenever I want, doing whatever I want. Now, for most people, $1 million business done well, I'm going to preface that with done well, is actually going to give them the resources to do that in today's money. Like
Yeah.
in 20 years, that's going to, like with
Yeah, yeah.
inflation, like that is potentially very different. Um, the problem that we face after that is that if we're running at $1 million business, potentially if we don't do it well, we what I tend to see is we get to about 800,000 and we're doing all the things and it's still relatively profitable and it feels good and everything like that. And we're so close that we start spending like a lot of money on marketing and advertising and all these different things to try and pull it in. That is not actually net positive, and we suddenly get to $1 million and we're making less money at $1 million than we were at 800,000 or at
Yeah, right.
500,000, and suddenly we have more problems because at that level, if we haven't got it all sorted out, we're not strategic. Well, even if we do have it sorted out and we're strategic about it, it's just because you have to do more of the thing, there's naturally going to be more problems that we've got to deal with. And there's more risk, there's potentially more stress associated with it. So if you're making less money at $1 million than you are at 400, 500, 600, $700,000 a year, you need to have a why to do that. And then ideally, we want to set it up so that you're making more money. Otherwise, why would you?
All right. So then on that, why would you? Why are we going to go for the million?
It's such a personal thing, right?
Okay.
Like for some people, it's ego, and I would say that if it's just ego, sure, do it, but that's not going to get you what you're looking for. There's other things that you're looking for. If it if it's about your future and what you can do in the future, absolutely, I'm all about that. If it's like for me, everything that I'm doing right now is I want to be able to, let's say my kids have kids, right? And let's say Freya calls me in 15, hang on, no, hopefully it's closer to 25 years. Let's say Freya calls me in 25 years and goes, hey, Dad, can you have the kids? I need to go sort all of this stuff out. Can you have the kids? I can just go, yeah, no worries. Don't even have to look at my calendar. Don't have to do anything. Yep, no worries. Got that covered. Like that's one of the things. The other key driver for me is I see a lot of people that struggle. I'm working with people that can't retire. I'm working with businesses like that. Just firstly, the person that's running them is going to be in a world of hurt in 10 years' time because they're not going to be anywhere because of the way they're building their business, and then their whole family suffers because of it. The flow-on effect is their communities suffers because of it. So one of the things that I'm passionate about, and one of the things that I know that I can give back to the community is if I help people build really good businesses, not only will those businesses support them, their family, their suppliers' family, the consumers, their families, it's also the flow-on effect to the rest of the community that they can then support. So for me, that's why I'm doing it. Everyone's got to work out their why to the degree of why they're doing it.
I find it super interesting until I sort of met you and started speaking with you. You know, there's a world of millionaires that I know in that without sort of knowing it, without sort of talking into it. I know people that are millionaires. I never thought, or run $1 million business, sorry. I never thought I could be one of those people. My brain wasn't thinking about running $1 million business at all. I was literally just trying to get enough funds together to eat, to survive, to keep the business afloat, you know, to get enough revenue through the door so that eventually I can get off a hamster wheel and eventually I can start to have different sorts of impact. But it wasn't until you said to me, where are you going to be in 10 years? And I freaked out because I'll be old. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to start something here. So you got me forward thinking about how do I plan for the next 10 years? What do I want to do with it? And then when you started to say to me, okay, let's look at $1 million revenue, I'm like, well, you know, there's only me. I don't have kids. I don't have anyone to leave it to. I've got Betty. What am I doing this for? Right? What am I ultimately doing it for? Because when you do it for you, it doesn't really mean anything. You did say to me, let's go and get that beautiful house on the beach, right? And that still wasn't a motivator, right? Still, because I didn't believe that I could get the money. I didn't believe I could do it. And then as we've been working together, it's literally now a goal. And the goal is for the freedom that it will bring for myself, but also the impact, the more things that we can buy and put into the business to create more of an impact for the client. So because I don't have kids to give it to, I've got clients to give it to, right? So it's like, oh, let's get more money in so we can do more things. And then ultimately it's not even chasing the $1 million. It's chasing the how much funds can we get in so that we can do better things, even at under $1 million. And it totally changes the game. But I think that $1 million marker gives us something to run to and just something, you know, as a line in the sand kind of thing. So yeah, it just changes the game. When you start to think in $1 million space, things open up a little differently. They just open up, the thinking changes.
And one of the things that we were talking about with you and we were talking about your team is how much we can positively impact their life,
Sure.
like by giving them job security, being able to pay them more, have the consistency for them, and the flow-on effect of how it impacts their families as well and their local communities. Like we had a good chat about that. It's like, oh my God, we can do this. How cool is that?
I know, it's incredible. That's the other, you know, family that I have. Without them, I'm nothing. And to be able to support them in amazing ways. So that's a really good reason to aim for $1 million or whatever mark you put on it. So, okay, we're getting our whys down. How do we go about this so that it's achievable? Like, I know you've helped me understand the steps. I could talk all day about how clear I feel now that you and I have been working together, and I can just see how this is going to happen and the things that we need to do, the impact we're having. How does a small business owner who's, you know, 100K, 200K, maybe even 500K, a little bit stuck in the trenches, maybe doesn't have the why yet or can see it, what do they need to do to start to give themselves some space to have a look over the edge?
So hang on. To clarify, are we saying they need space so that they can actually think about these things first, or are we talking about how to get them there, like as into the figure?
Yeah, good
What do you
question,
want
because
to talk about first?
you normally need space in thinking, don't you, to get to then implement. So let's go. How do we get some space in thinking?
Okay, cool. So when I work with people, this is what I look to do when we're like, because almost no one that I go to and like I do have some, but almost no one that I go to, when I turn around and go, okay, so where are we 5 years from now? Where are we from 10 years from now? Everyone is like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Because as a general rule, we don't have those bigger visions. We're stuck in the day-to-day life of, this is what I got to do, this is where I'm at, this is what's happening. And like, we're a little bit designed that way because what was our history and where do we come from?
Yeah.
Right. So like, that's okay. But what I do to help them get the space is generally money, right? So what we do first is we go and we look at anywhere from, it's usually 6 to 12 areas in their business. And I have 40 to choose from. So there's plenty of different areas for anyone that's like, oh, I can't do this in my business. There's always something.
We've got an area.
There is always something that we can do. And it starts as simple as, we're talking about tweaking your prices, very small tweaks that will pull in more money. It's just you're selling already, to like working on the full way that your team converts sales and ensuring that we're increasing the way sales, to how do we retain more clients, to how we bring them in. There's a whole heap of things, right? So what we're doing is we're going and we're doing little tweaks. And what the little tweaks do is they give us a little bit more money without a lot of time or effort. That little bit of money, rather than just going, cool, I've got more money, now I'm going to go buy myself a jet ski or something like that, right? We take that and we go apply that to someone that is going to help you get back some time. Now, for some people, well, we have two options. It's either outside of the business or inside of the business. Now, what I mean by outside of the business is, especially when you're trying to grow it out and something like sometimes it feels impossible to avoid doing a 12 or 14 hour day, and sometimes regularly, because there's things that we have to do. We don't have the people yet. Even if we bring someone in, we got to train them. We got to do stuff, right? Like that's, and we can, like, we're not at the point that we have the money to allocate to go and spend on someone who has done it before, that is just going to be able to get in and fix everything for you.
Yeah.
So sometimes, situation depending, it's better for us to go, okay, well, you need space, right? So what if we were paying for someone to do meal prep for you? What if we were paying for someone to clean your house? What if we were paying for someone to fold that massive, huge pile of laundry that is off in the corner, as like that we suddenly start just like, it doesn't even make it to the wardrobe anymore. It just goes washing machine, dryer, pile, washing machine, dryer, pile. We put it on and keeps going around in a circle.
Keep moving the pile around. It drives me nuts.
So, like, look at this. The amount of people that I talk to that's the case, and I would be lying if I said that, like, when we don't have someone that's doing the thing, that doesn't happen either, because we've got two kids, we're focused on business, we're doing the things, and the last thing we want to do is put away clothes.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And so it's creating space so that you can be more focused in the work environment, so you don't have to go from your business to go home to effectively have a second full-time job.
Yeah.
What that tends to do is either go, okay, maybe one day a week, because you've got this space now, you could take a couple of hours across the week to think about these things, and we can strategically work on where does that want to be. Or what it does is it frees up the headspace so that when you're at work, you're more focused. And then because we're more focused and we can be more strategic about what we're doing in the workplace, then we're actually going to create some time there. Yeah. And then on the business side, buying other people's time. It's whether it's where talking to marketing agencies, subcontractors, whatever it is, tends to be to start with at that level. We're not looking to hire internally unless like there's a real reason to do it. We're generally like, in all those things that we were doing for ourselves, we're like, okay, who's someone that I can pay to do that has the experience, that is external, that can do the thing.
That's going to be the biggest mindset shift in stages. The biggest one I've had is like, I've brought in a team. The team I've been working with, one in particular, has been with me for over 2 years. And in that time, we've grown together. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, you and I have been talking about me getting an EA in now, so I can literally remove that. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got to that point where I'm going to bring in an EA. Is this like decadent, like dark chocolate? It's like, but at the same time, I've missed out on so many emails this week because I just can't get to them. And it's like, okay, it's a need because otherwise something is going to break. And it's like
It's
to be able
yeah,
to then now think about building out the people. So now it's about building out a team. It reminds me of Steve Jobs. I can hear him. He's like all around building out the team to build the things, right? But the brain sort of comes up and lifts out, and you can get a little bit more creative here and go, okay, now it's about how do we bring in this talent that we need to make the thing even more impactful. And that's an explosion. That's a whole different mindset. It's just so exciting. Right? Just working with amazing people that know stuff. Right? That know more than you.
the next step, which is sometimes we need to do first, depending on the person, is we're really looking at the efficiencies of how you're spending your time.
Oh,
Because for everyone that is like under the $250,000 mark, and everyone that's over it, but let's just talk about the lower end of it, you are doing things that you don't need to do.
mm,
Or you are spending too much time doing things when it like good enough is good enough at that point.
yeah. Yeah. And that's another mindset set shift. Especially if you built it yourself from scratch and you're the one that's done everything, and now you start
Yeah.
lifting those things off you're so used to doing the things that when you don't do the things anymore, you go, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
There's so many other things to do.
And don't worry, there are so many other things to do that we load you up with, right? Like,
Totally right. Oh, look, there's a hole.
but like in a positive way too. Like the whole point is like we want to get at the end of the day we want to get leverage, which is where we're spending the same amount of energy, but we're getting more out for the energy that we're spending, right? And we really want to focus on making that more for what we're getting. So it's not about going, oh, we're just creating space so that you can work harder and more and more and more, because that's not what it's about at all. Because that, while it seems like that's the way that we can grow, it's actually the worst thing that you can do, from the sense of like, firstly, you're going to burn yourself out. Secondly, just doing more of the thing and creating space so you can do more of the thing, as opposed to how do we do more of that thing but get more out of it. And if we can do less and get more out of it, and then apply the extra attention we have to something else, we're going to be able to do more overall. So it's firstly we're bringing in some money, we're looking at the time, and then it's getting very strategic about it. You want to have a roadmap of where are you now and where do you want to be. And for most people, they don't have that. And what tends to happen is businesses that want to grow, and they're looking at, okay, am I buying the next course, but I'm buying like 50 of them and never doing anything. I'm probably downloading a whole heap of free PDFs and videos and stuff like that, but never taking action on it. I'm like, if I am spending money, I'm probably running like Facebook ads or something like that, but I don't know how to do it. So I'm just throwing money at it and nothing's happening. Or like, I'm going to networking groups, but I'm not really targeted about it. I don't really know how I'm networking, so I'm just spending money and not doing the thing.
Yep, completely.
So there's so many different things that just.
So the first thing is to get mind space with some money and some time back, and then from there, you can then plan out like you and I've spoken about our next 6 months, or Butterfly Media's next 6 months, and what that looks like in a really nice, systemized way of growth, right? One that I can handle, one that the business can handle, rather than me going, can we do it all at once? Right? And you go, no, let's do it this way. So that's a beautiful plan that I can easily step into.
And we went, like, everything I'm talking about is exactly what we went through with you.
Yeah. But and it's been completely transformational, particularly this last 6 month plan that we've just done. It's like, okay, now I know what I'm stepping into. I can tell the team, and we can incrementally start to bring it in a way that we can all handle it, right? It's incredible. I'm completely at peace with it. It's just, and I can see it. I can see it for the first time. I can see that it's achievable. So if I may, I'm just thinking about a couple of business owners that I know that are probably at that stage, like they've got a couple of team members in, a couple of people they've brought in as contractors, they've trained them up, got them, in a nice flow. They're still in fulfillment.
Yeah. How about, like, so we can get a little bit more specific, how about you give me an example of a business? It doesn't have to be someone's business, but just example of business, and I'll talk about what I would look at to grow that business.
So an example of a business is no, the one I'm thinking of. All right, let's look at
Because we talked about a digital marketing agency last time, so someone could literally go back and watch the other video. So let's just talk about it. Like, it's going to be very similar, but let's talk about another business.
Yeah, well, I can only think about service providers more so. So maybe
What kind of service provider? Like,
we could look at a HR company that is a training company for. So, particular one I'm thinking of is a HR provider where they train people to become HR qualified, and then those qualifications at different levels help people get advancement in their HR careers. So the actual company is a training company, and they're 8 months in. For an example, they're 8 months in, and now looking to, obviously bring students through. So what would be a really good way for them as a duo business owners to grow that at this stage in 8 months, since they've been going for 8 months? And the revenue side, let's say it's sitting at 250.
The cool thing is they've done HR, right? Let's make the assumption that they've done HR. So
Yep.
that's awesome, because they can talk about their story.
Yes.
Right. So and they've been through all the problems and everything like that. So it's very easy for them to, like, let's talk about market dominating positions. Very easy for them to talk about who we serve, what their problem is, what the solution is, how are we how is it different from anyone else, and why is it going to be the best fit for that person, right? So that we get very clear on the messaging around that. That's the first thing that we want to have in place, because if we have that, it's easy to go talk to it. So the next thing I'd say is we want to look at, okay, so everyone's like, oh, well, I see this a lot, especially when you're at your lower end, right? There's a tendency to want to sell lower end, like cost, like it's like, oh, okay, so we might have this HR training course that we sell for $500, and we're just going to go sell a whole heap of those at $500.
Yeah.
That is going to be really hard to get you there, because if you think about that, it's suddenly, for 83,000, we've got to sell like 1,600. Oh, that may be wrong. Now I'm just saying dumb math on. Let me quickly go make sure what it is, so that I'm 166. There we go. I have to sell 166 of those
a month.
Yeah, a month.
Yep.
Right. As opposed to, if I go, all right, awesome, I have a $5,000 program that we put you through that goes for 12 weeks, right?
Yep.
And if I can then sell, and like if there's two people, you could easily sell 40 of those a month.
Month?
You want to sell a little $5,000 program. Okay, we don't need to sell that many of them.
Right, I'll get the calculator out.
Yeah, my math is not good today. I'm just like going to spitball some stupid numbers.
Neither's mine, right?
Okay, so 16, right? Or 17 of those a month, right? So suddenly we go from selling 166 or something to 17. It is a lot easier to sell 17 things than 166.
And it's a totally different process.
Well, like, it's still the same effort. So it might be a different process, but it's like, to sell 166 $5,000 things is still the same process as selling, 166 $500 things. It's still the same process as selling as selling 16 $5,000 things. I'm going to stop tripping up.
Yeah.
So it's still the same process. We've still got to go through, and yes, okay, it's different positioning, it's a different offer, it's selling it to a different different level person, but the actual steps that we need to take, and the time and the energy and the effort that goes into it, is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And where I see a lot of people that get trapped is they want to focus in on the $500 thing as opposed to the $5,000.
Completely.
So it's not wrong to have the $500 thing, But if we focus on the $5,000 thing and that's not the right fit for the person, we can then sell them the $500 thing and keep moving.
Yeah, exactly.
So suddenly we've got a $5,000 thing, right? So on the other side, and that's good. And if we can do that in a group scenario, that's even better. If someone hasn't done enough of one-to-one, I would never encourage them to do group, because you just haven't come across enough problems and have enough experience to be able to relay that to people in an effective way that's going to get them results. And I watch a lot of people now that just want to jump straight to group.
Yeah.
And if you've never dealt with a group of people before, you want to slow the easy slide, because it's not about that you can't talk in front of a group of people. It's about effectively getting them outcomes.
Yeah, and the dynamics of a
And
group.
I'm all about that. And if you're not worried about that part of it, well, that's on you, not me. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. The other thing that I would then want to have is, what is the $30,000 thing or $50,000 thing that we are selling to the HR consultants that we're training as well? And in my world, that's one-to-one consulting / coaching support that we are doing over a 12-month period.
Yeah.
And then if we look at that, suddenly it becomes a lot easier to hit $1 million, because we've got the different avenues. So let's say when we look at it, if we sell one person into 12-month coaching, right, every month, and let's assume they're paying up front. They might not be paying up front. It might be like repayments, but let's say they're paying up front. It's $30,000. Suddenly we now only need to sell 11 people into the $5,000 product. And if we sold 2 people into the $30,000 one, it just becomes less. So I think a lot of what we get stuck in the way to do that. And we haven't even talked about the other things yet. We haven't talked about what happens if there's additional things that HR person needs that we could also sell to them at the same time. So what if those $5,000 people, we could turn them into $6,000 people by setting them up with their CRM, with a mini marketing package, with the documentation, the support, and everything else that they would need to get that rolling, right? Suddenly, that 5,000 becomes 6,000, and we then need to sell less.
Yep.
Completely. So where I'm going with this, because that's a lot of, these are all the things we can doing, is that just getting more clients is almost never the answer, and it tends to be the hardest one, because the problem is if you go hard after volume, you have a couple of problems. And the first one is that you're going to have high churn, because you're constantly chasing new people, and you're just going to have people going off the back end, because the people at the back end aren't going to get looked after as well. The second one is it's very intensive on your time, because you constantly got to pull new people in.
It's, the old saying, it's cheaper to work with clients you already have than to bring new ones on. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's only 3 ways to grow a business. It's get more clients, increase their average spend, and then increase the lifetime that they are purchasing from you.
Yeah.
Everything else just plugs into that. And everyone focuses on number 1, especially when they're at the $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 mark. They're focused on number 1. 2 and 3 are what will get you further. And it also creates a better experience. It's going to grow your team out more. The consistency of having money coming out into your business means that you can hire people that are going to be able to stay with you for longer. And the biggest hack in business is just do things for a longer period of time. Because most people can't stay the course. They just can't be. They're not in it for the long term. For whatever reason, they're not. So I was watching the new Fallout series, and I know that that's probably not your thing, but they were talking about time being the biggest weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And I've actually got a reel of it saved to go and do a green screen against it, because it's just It's so true. Like, and the premise of it is they want to, like, they're doing a run to control everything in corporate America, and the way they're looking to do it is just outlasting everyone else.
You're right. Yeah.
There's more to it than that, and there's people that'll be fans that are like, you just skipped over the whole thing, but like for everyone that's not, that's the premise, right? And
I find that fascinating. The longer you're in the game, the better you get at it, obviously. But you see people come
most
and go, right?
yeah, most multi-million dollar businesses that I work with have been around for a long time, and because they've gone and they've like done all the hard work for themselves, and they've just like weathered the storm and
Mm,
like done all the grind and everything like that. That is what has got them there. Um, there's some people that I work with now. They're like, "Oh my god, why was I not working with you sooner, or someone else like this sooner?" Because it would have shortcutted a lot of those problems.
yeah. Yeah, it takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation. And that's just
Absolutely.
milestone one, right?
So, I from a time perspective, you can get to 100,000 to 1,000,000 in a year. It is going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you plan on doing that, get support around you, find the right people, get the help, because you are going to have, like, if you haven't experienced that before, you're going to have a rough time.
So just on that,
Generally, it's a lot of, generally it's a lot easier to do it over like 2 or 3 years.
so if you're planning on doing it, or if it's looking like it's coming, just to sort of round up, who would you get in your team to start to help you get to the $1,000,000? Who do you need as a solo operator? Who's some core players?
It depends on how good you are at certain things, right?
Right.
so,
Okay.
here's some things you need to do. You need to be able to bring in leads consistently. So you need a way, and someone who's going, whether it's you or someone else, who can bring in leads, and then you need to be able to convert them. Then you need to be able to deliver on the product, the service, or whatever it is. Those are the three key things that you need. If you have that, you can do it.
Yeah. So if you're not the salesperson, you'll need a salesperson, right? So
Yeah.
if you're not strong at that, or if you're not strong at closing, or if you're doing all the sales and fulfillment is killing you, you can't get to the back end to fulfill, then you need a team to help fulfill. That's
So,
literally wherever you're not.
and
Then
you know this, like the first
oh,
thing
I
I
know
do when
this.
I'm working with digital marketers is, ideally I want to get them out of fulfillment, because you can't grow that kind of business when you're in fulfillment. It's just, you can't do it. And for most businesses, that is going to be the case. Um, and if you are doing the fulfillment because you are the professional that needs to do the thing, you basically need the clients coming to you,
Yeah,
so that you are focused on doing that delivery. Because everything else, if you're like a professional doing the thing, so let's say as a consultant for me, if I can't do any of the other stuff well and I spend time on that, which takes away from me delivering for businesses, that is costing a lot of money to me, and it's going to slow me down massively,
yeah.
and it's going to negatively impact the impact that I can make for other people.
And again, that's a massive mindset shift, especially if you've made the business yourself, where you have been in fulfillment. You're virtually the creative of it, the one that's brought the skill set to it, and then started sort of selling out your time. And then when you've got to bring someone else in, or you think about bringing someone else in for fulfillment, it's like a whole other mindset, where you hand over your skill set that you think you're the only one that can do, and find out that's not the case, right?
Yeah,
You aren't, you
absolutely.
aren't that special, right? Or you're not that much of a genius, although there are some incredible genius people out there, and they'd be the ones that stay in fulfillment and get people around them. So you stay in your lane, right? You stay in your lane of genius. But handing that kind of stuff over and stepping up and out, like when you and I spoke about it, I've got my team now that does most of the fulfillment for a lot of the stuff that we do. I still have my hand in one part, but ultimately we're working towards moving me out of that as well. And it's like,
And
whoa.
every time we're doing something new, that you haven't done before. It's like, all right, cool, let's go figure this out. Let's get it all good. Let's make sure that it's working. And then we bring the team in so that they can then take it. And everything that we're doing, and like, this is what we're doing with you right now. Everything that we do with you, we build it with the intention of the team is doing it. We're not building it with the intention that you're doing it. We're setting it up so the team can then do it.
Yeah. It's an incredible way to build a business. So,
Yeah,
all right
absolutely.
then. So to recap then, for anybody looking to get to the $1 million, number one, we're going to look at why. All right, and understand that. Number two, we're going to look at the how. You're typing away. You're answering. Is there
Yeah,
questions?
well, we've got some comments, so I'm
Oh,
just
okay, cool. Is there anything we need to talk about in the comments?
I know. No, Brian was just so one of my clients was on there just talking about how awesome the live is and it's really valuable. So
Oh, that's great. It's good, great that it's hitting the mark. So let's just recap then. So to get to $1 million, number one, it's the why. We've got to look at the why, which could start to arrive once you get some breathing space. Like I can understand it's really hard to understand that when you're trying to get the funds together and move it through. Once you get the space, you understand the why. Always gets us out of bed on a rainy day, doesn't it? It's tough to get going. So from the why, then we move into what, Michael? We move into the how. And the how's not necessarily what we think it could be. The how is to get some team members in, get different players in, move money around.
And then we build intentionally, and a big part of that is taking action. And that action part is a massive piece that most people don't do.
Yeah.
Because they just get stuck in the planning and like, why are we doing this and what's happening? And then they go into build mode as opposed to let's get it done mode. And that's where they're like, oh, and we've talked about this before. Oh, I'm going to build out this system so that like someone can use this. And this will be great. When we don't actually know if anyone wants it yet.
Oh, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. How many times we build a system, we don't use it anymore.
Yeah, and just to backtrack quickly, just with the why side of things is it's okay for that to change. Like we grow as people. So like just because I talk about all the things that I talk about now and this is what I want now, like in 10 years time that may completely change. And that's okay.
Yeah. Completely. I was just talking to some people earlier on, they're at the very early stages of setting up their business. They're getting flyers and business cards together and they're really worried about the look of everything. And I said, listen, let's just get one of them beautifully didn't have her flyers. And so she grabbed a crayon in the library and just wrote her phone number down on it and gave it to the person. I went, that's the best flyer that you've ever got right now. Doesn't need to be anything, right? As long as it's delivering the information.
It's very rare that you'll catch me with a business card anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want people to have my business card. I want to get them on social media so that they're seeing me all the time.
Not only that, you want their business card. Like I want their
the ability to be able to contact them, right?
Yeah, totally right. I'm not letting you get away once you show me some interest, right? So anyway, all right. So going to $1 million can actually help us have an impactful life. Ultimately, when we start to build that, we can have it with less than. We don't need it. It's just a marker. Money's a motivator. It's just a number that can help us measure where we're at. But ultimately, the same things are happening for us. We still want to get to the same place, which is impact, freedom, having a good business that's doing great things and maybe a cool life at some stage. Maybe we can look after ourselves in retirement. Because I don't know. It's going to be an interesting ride. That's a conversation for another day, right?
That's a good why to have.
Yeah, retirement.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for today, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week where we could have a little bit of a different live happening next week. I'll share some details around that moving forward next week. I just need some confirmation of a few things, but otherwise...
Yeah, we've got to work out the tech as well.
Yeah, I know. But next week should be super different. We'll be talking around some different styles of marketing from different locations. So look out for that next week. Again, if you've got any questions or comments, drop them below. If you'd like to appear with us, we do have some special guests coming on June onwards, so that's going to be awesome. Can't wait to talk to them, Michael. Otherwise, everyone, have a great week. We'll see you out there. Thank you.